Hey, this is the innovator of Bonds, Tommy Dreamer, and yours at the StrikeZone in Rhode Island, taking you to the extreme.
Hey, plug away, Sork.
We got a two-time ICW hip swivel towel champion, Maximus Sex Power. Welcome to the show, brother.
That's an intro, brother.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Maximus,
Doing
thank
great.
you very
Thank
much
you for taking the time to talk with us here on the Strike Zone.
Now, how excited for
my
you?
pleasure.
March 20th is bearing down. We're greatly excited. We're going to be there live. Our first ICW show. We're going to be conducting some interviews, doing some media stuff, and
First ever podcast.
our first ever podcast content live via satellite, if you will. But we're very excited here in Rhode Island to be coming up to New York and talk about the show for a minute, if you will. How excited are you, sir?
How excited am I? Not very excited at all, because if there's one thing I hate, it's Queens, New York. I was born there, I was raised there, and the first chance I got, I couldn't wait to get out of there and move to Florida, where the weather's better, the girls are prettier, and people just don't suck.
So you're not a
am
Mets
I excited
fan,
to go back to Queens? No.
Yeah, not a Mets fan, we gather.
Mets fan over here?
I'm a big Mets fan, actually.
Oh,
That's
I
great.
like the Mets.
He keeps it loyal. He keeps
Okay,
it.
all right.
He just had to get out of town.
Except Daniel Murphy. He's on my my naughty list right now.
Daniel Murphy's on the naughty list. Now, how did you, this character, it seems very unique, very entertaining. How did you, where did the process go into really creating this character and finding yourself?
Well, when I first started wrestling, and it's like, this will be May will mark 14 full years in wrestling, which is crazy to think about now that I'm saying it out loud. But my nickname in high school was L Shoes. That's just what people called me. There's a whole story behind it. I'm not going to bore you with it.
We got a
when I
separate
first got
podcast
into
for that.
yeah, so when I first got into wrestling, everyone just called me Shoes. So that was my name. My name was L Shoes.
Oh, God.
But someone came up to me one day. They're like, "Hey, have you ever seen Playboy Buddy Rose?" And I'm a big fan. You know, I've always watched wrestling, everything. I watch everything. I'm like a sponge. But I was like, of course I've seen Playboy Buddy Rose. Like, we had this idea, and we think you're funny and you know how to do a character, but we don't know what to call you. And we want you to really change your name, do a whole overhaul. So I'm a big Simpsons fan, too. So I remember when Homer Simpson wanted to change his name, he changed it to Max Power because it was the only thing he knew how to spell.
Max Power, yeah.
So I said, I go, why don't I be Max Power? And the guy started laughing. I go, wait a minute. I'll be Maximus Sex Power. Then Sex could be my middle name, and I'll just play it like I'm a fat Rick Rude and just have fun with it, because Rick Rude's one of my all-time favorites, so I thought that would be fun. And who doesn't like a fat guy thinking he's the sexiest man on earth?
Well, I mean, it's not taking yourself so seriously, and that's refreshing, because there's so many guys in the business that take themselves seriously to the point of borderline annoyance, and the fact that you can have fun with this character, and I mean, inspired by Rick Rude, one of the greatest, by the way, should be in the Hall of Fame. This is my 2 cents on that. But I mean, Rick Rude, certainly, if you could channel that energy in kind of a fun way, I mean, that's a great, unique character right there.
You know, and I look at the business today, and I hate so much of it as a fan, and I think about it like this. To me, there are so many guys out there who have much bigger names than me and are more athletic than me. And not that I'm not athletic. I was a Division I NCAA athlete, played sports, athletics my entire life. But there are guys who can do stuff that I can't dream of.
Yeah.
But to me, they all show up with the same haircut, the same tights, the same tattoos.
Yep.
And when you go home at night, who are you going to remember? The 11 guys who did arm drags for 20 minutes? Or the fat guy with a towel who did a hip swivel?
I mean, it's true, and this business is all about how to make yourself different. I mean, a lot of these guys in the indies, look, I love independent wrestling just as much as the next guy. I'm a huge fan, but I mean, how many double stops can we actually see? Can you answer that question? I mean, some of these moves, I mean, they're all using them, like all these main guys, and it's great and all, but at the same time, I mean, finding a unique character that sets yourself apart, and I think you've got it figured out, and you're right. If I'm a person, and there's 6 Ring of Honor style matches where they're all going at it like it's WrestleMania, and there's one guy who really sticks out in my mind with their image, and that will stick in my mind, absolutely.
And that's the thing. It's like, and this is the problem with the indies, and it's not a problem with any individual company. It's just the indies as they're built as a whole is because, you're just trying to get booked and trying to get your name out there and trying to get exposure. You can't build to anything. Like the one amazing thing that was built on the indies that I can think of in the past 10 years is the Steen Generico feud, which they built over years. You know, that built for years, basically, to come to that point at the end where you got, you know, the big finale. On the indies, it's tough to do that because, you know, every promoter is just trying to throw dream matches out there.
Oh, yeah.
And it devalues it. Like, you can't have a build to a payoff.
Now, Max, on this show on the ICW March 20th, I know you've been a singles wrestler. It looks like you're teaming up with Damian Darling. Is this your first tag match with Damian Darling?
It's we're tag team partners in life, so it's only natural that we become tag team partners at work as well. Damien's a very good friend of mine. We have the same mentality. You know, we thought it would be fun to do something. We're both big fans of the Freebirds.
Oh yeah.
And yes. So we have a third guy in mind, basically, if we ever get the chance to expand our group, and like we have an idea of what we would like to do. It's just a matter of getting the opportunity and the forum to present it.
Yeah.
If we do get that, I think it could be kind of fun. I think it could be kind of different because I'm not a pro wrestler. I'm a sports entertainer. Damien's a sports entertainer. Not that we can't go out there and do moves like everybody else, but we're there to have a good time and send the people home either hating us and wanting to see us get beat up, or maybe they think Damien's cute because I'm really not, so maybe they'll come back for that and buy some 8x10s that happen to have me on it that I could get a cut out of.
Hey, there you go. Got to sell that merch, baby. Got to sell those gimmicks.
Team effort.
Hey, times are rough.
That's right. The economy is tough. I mean, certainly, it's going to be great to see you in tag team action. And this show, I know it's ICW's first event back in a while. We're very excited to be there and to see the growth of ICW. And I know they're looking at bigger venues and other things for some future shows. And it's very exciting to be a part of this, Max. It really is. Now, I was going to ask you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's exciting for me because I've basically been with ICW since day one.
Yes.
From Jack's first show in January of 2001, I was sitting in the front row. If you ever watch the tape of that event, you'll see a young Maximus Sex Power sitting in the front row laughing at Amazing Red when he came through the curtain. And then to be, to invent the Hip Swivel Towel Championship, which I beat Val Venis for and successfully defended over Robbie E, Gangrel, Necro Butcher. I mean, not like I'm so great, but I'm pretty great.
Those are some pretty notable names there.
Those are big names.
And it's interesting, Val Venis, because that's the guy when we were doing our homework on you that really like came to mind with some of the stuff we were seeing, and must have been quite the experience to get in there with the former Intercontinental Champion.
It was unbelievable. It's amazing. When you, as a fan, you watch these guys and you go, and the internet fans, we do that all the time. Like, oh, this guy's a great worker. This guy's great.
Yeah.
But you don't really appreciate it till you're really in there with him. And he's, so good at that point, too, where he had been on the indies for a couple of years at that point. And I couldn't believe I've never been in the ring with anyone like that. I mean, Val Venis was, number one, cool guy, fun guy, and number two, one of the most awesome people to be in the ring with. And we played off each other really well.
And he's a guy, didn't he train under Rick Rude? Am I wrong?
Did Venus? I don't know.
Oh, I was going to say, there's a connection to that as well. So certainly, I had a question for you. You talk about sports entertainers versus pro wrestlers. I think of a guy when you say that, a guy like Colt Cabana. What are your thoughts on that?
I love Colt Cabana. Personally, love him. We talk baseball. He's a Kirby Puckett guy. But for Cabana, he's one of those guys who gets it. And that's the guy, to me, that more indie guys should aspire to be, is Colt Cabana. Because what does he do? He makes a living off of professional wrestling.
Yes.
And that should be the goal here. You should want to make a living off this. So many guys are just concerned with, I just want to go out there and steal the show. That's great. But people can see, 5-star matches anywhere.
Yeah.
It's about, the great line is from Mick Foley's book, and I say it all the time to people. Taka Michinoku does a twisting tope over the top rope every night, and not a lot of people care. But the Undertaker does it once a year, and everybody goes bananas.
Yeah, it's true.
They care about the person, not the move. And Colt Cabana is like the perfect example of that. They care about the person. Everything he does gets a reaction.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not always out there having those technical classics. Although his work right now is off the charts. He's in phenomenal shape.
He is. I saw him recently in Providence, Rhode Island at Beyond Wrestling. He took on Picky Sanchez, who's another guy who's kind of in the sports entertainer realm, I guess you could say. I don't know if you're familiar with him. But
I think he's an old tag team partner of mine.
Really? Wow.
We had one match together against the Demolition.
Very interesting. It's a team that's been in the news lately.
What's it like working with Demolition?
Intimidating. It's very intimidating. The first ever wrestling show I went to as a child was at the National Coliseum, and the main event that night was Demolition defending the tag team titles against the Twin Towers.
Oh, wow.
So 22 years later, I actually got to wrestle the Demolition, which that was a nice, coming full circle moment for me. And I actually got one of the best compliments of my career that night from Bill Eadie, who, when he asked me, he goes, well, what do you do? So I explained to him, I go, basically, I'm a fat Rick Rude. After our match, he pulled me aside and he said, hey, I just want you to know that if Rick was still here, he'd really get a kick out of what you do.
And, I mean, what an ultimate compliment. I mean, Rick Rude is a guy, I mean, I feel like he's probably a number one, not that Macho Man's in the WWE Hall of Fame, he's probably number one on a lot of people's lists of the people who should be in.
I gotta tell you, I think next year he's finally gonna get his due. I'm thinking WrestleMania 32 Hall of Fame, Rick Rude's definitely going in.
I really hope so.
As far as I'm concerned, one of the top 5 heels of all time.
Agreed.
I mean, just phenomenal with and not just as an entertainer, as a wrestler too. The way he could take marginal talent, everyone we know, talks crap about the Ultimate Warrior, or whatever. But those matches were good. Those matches were fun. Those matches were entertaining. Those matches you wanted more. You either wanted, when Rude won the belt at WrestleMania with Heenan holding the leg, you were aghast. And you wanted to see Rude get his comeuppance. He was that good. His matches with Sting were awesome.
Oh, yeah.
He could work anybody.
I gotta say, the Ultimate Warrior Rick Rude match, I believe at SummerSlam, the cage match, that was great. That's the one that stands out to me.
Oh, yeah. Certainly, I think Warrior's best work were against Savage and against Rude. Plain and simple.
The real workers of pro wrestling.
I think it's hard to put the Rude match over the Savage match, just because to me the Randy Savage Elizabeth storyline is the greatest love story ever told.
And double turn too.
Yeah, aside from Wally, or any, those are the best love stories I've ever seen. Scott Pilgrim, Wally, and Macho Man Elizabeth. But if you think about how long the Macho Elizabeth thing went on, we're talking about 85 to WrestleMania 7 was 92 or so?
Yeah.
That's a long time to be invested in those characters. So that, and with the Warrior kicking out after the 119 elbows, geez.
Yeah. It was a lot of elbows. That guy could no-sell with the best of them.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Jack.
Maximus, I just wanted to ask, who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up as a child, and what was kind of your inspiration to getting into the wrestling business?
My absolute favorite was the Honky Tonk Man. I love the Honky Tonk Man. I don't know why. I was entertained by him. When the Honky Tonk Man came out, I thought it was great. I became an Elvis fan later in life, maybe because of the Honky Tonk Man.
Wow.
But he was my absolute favorite. I love the Macho Man. As I got older, I started appreciating the work rate guys a little more.
Yeah.
But the Jericho was probably, if I had to go, to me, Jericho's probably the best all-around guy ever. I mean, he excelled at legitimately every aspect of wrestling. He's phenomenal.
And not only that, Max, but he also evolved. He went from obviously the hokey kind of crybaby in WCW to taking a little bit more serious in WWE, first ever world undisputed champion, to my favorite element of his work when he completely changed it up with the best in the world at what he does character with the suits, channeling, the Javier Bardem and everything.
Him and Big Show together as a team, I thought was great.
I thought Big Show's
really well.
Big Show's recent work is probably the most I've enjoyed Big Show in the past 5 years.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
I feel like he needs
You
a
know,
few
like-
years off to a little recharge. So
He just needs to go away.
yeah.
But
Well, there's probably that too.
yeah, exactly. So we got to wrap things up here. We got 5 minutes. Max, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Now, you want to tell the fans where to go. I know you're not a big fan of Queens, but you want to tell the fans where to go to check the show out and maybe where they can follow you on social media.
Just so you know, Max,
Yeah.
we're not excited about going to Queens either. So
Good. I'm happy.
We're excited to see you, though.
We're going to be March 20th, Friday night, the Elks Lodge on Queens Boulevard, 8220 Queens Boulevard. Get there. Tickets are available at teamicw.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Maximus Sex Power. I am on Facebook, facebook.com/MaxSexPal, like Batman sound effects. I am on Instagram at MaxSexPal. I post a lot of pictures of me at Disney World because I live in Orlando, so check those out. And I'm really hoping to meet Gaston one day because he's one of the all-time greatest heels in life. And that's pretty much it. Get to ICW March 20th.
We will certainly be there, and we cannot
will
wait.
see
Tommy
you
Dreamer
there.
on the card, Samoa Joe, Armando Estrada, and of course, Maximus Sex Power. Thank you very much for calling in, my friend. Best of luck. Can't wait to see you live.
Thanks for having me, guys.
thank you, Max.
Thank you for calling in, Max.
All right. That is
Take care.
Maximus Sex Power. He's going to be tagging with Damian Darling coming up.